Welcome to the first session of Human Health and Disease. In this chapter, we are trying to discuss various topics like what is health, what are the different factors affecting health, about different diseases like bacterial diseases, viral diseases, fungal diseases, etc. First of all, what are the different factors affecting our health? The different factors affecting health are genetic disorders, infections, and also the lifestyle. Genetic disorders will result in various diseases, and these diseases we are getting right at the beginning of life or right at the time of birth itself. And the second way the health is affected is by way of infections. Various pathogens are entering into our body like bacterial cells, viruses, fungi, etc., and it will affect our health. And the third way the health is affected is by the lifestyle. The lifestyle of a person is also affecting health, like the food and water that we take, the exercise that we are going to give to our bodies, and also the habits that we have or we are lacking. So, these are the three important factors which are affecting our health. Now, what is the definition for health? Health is defined as a complete physical, mental and social well-being of an individual. And health is maintained by different factors: a balanced diet, personal hygiene, regular exercise, awareness about diseases, vaccination, proper disposal of waste, control of vectors, maintenance of hygienic food and water resources. When one or more organs or systems of our body is adversely affected, we say that we have a disease. Diseases can be broadly classified into two types. First type is called infectious disease. Infectious diseases are spreading from one person to another. The second type, they are non-infectious. Non-infectious diseases remain confined to a particular person. They are not spreading from person to person. For example, cancer is considered to be a non-infectious disease. Diseases are caused by pathogens. Any agent which is causing disease, we can call it as a pathogen. There are different organisms causing diseases like bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, helminthes. So, all these disease causing organisms, we can call them as pathogens. Parasites, because they are affecting host and they are adversely affecting the body functions, we can say that most of the parasites are considered to be pathogens. All parasites are considered as pathogens. Now, we will go through different types of diseases. As I told you in the beginning, diseases can be classified into different types based on the causative organism. Bacterial diseases are diseases caused by bacteria. For example, typhoid, pneumonia, these are diseases caused by bacterial cells. First, we will discuss about typhoid. Typhoid, the name of pathogen here is Salmonella typhi. The part affected will be the small intestine. The mode of transmission, what is mode of transmission? How the pathogen is entering to a person. So, mode of transmission here is via contaminated food and water. Now, about the symptoms of typhoid: high sustained fever of 39 to 40 degrees Celsius, there will be weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache and loss of appetite. So, these are the important points regarding typhoid. In the intense case of Salmonella infection, sometimes there will be intestinal perforation and it may even lead to death of a person. Here in this picture you can see an affected person with typhoid. You can see some rashes developed on his body. On the right side you can see another diagram which shows Salmonella typhi. Salmonella typhi, which is the causative organism of typhoid. Typhoid can be confirmed by Widal test. So, the disease can be diagnosed by a test called Widal test. Widal test here, it is a serological test and it is usually done for diagnosing enteric fever or undulent fever, and here the method is the typhoid fever bacterial cells, they are mixed with the serum which is available in the form of a kit here, and this kit will contain specific antibodies that are in a Widal test. It is a presumptive serological test for enteric fever or undulent fever, and here the bacteria causing typhoid fever will be mixed with serum containing specific antibodies obtained from an infected individual. You can see in this picture a Widal test kit given here, and here on the right side the observations that we can make. Now, the name of Mary Mullen is worth mentioning here, because Mary Mullen, her nickname is Typhoid Mary. So, why she is called Typhoid Mary? It is because she was a carrier of this disease. Typhoid Mary was a carrier of typhoid. She was a cook by profession and she was serving food for several persons, and when she was serving food, actually she was spreading that disease. She was actually spreading the microbe which is causing typhoid. So, you can see in this picture Typhoid Mary, you can see her picture here. So, remember, Typhoid Mary was a carrier of typhoid. Now, the next disease we are going to discuss is pneumonia. Pneumonia is another bacterial disease. Pneumonia is caused by Haemophilus influenzae or Streptococcus pneumoniae. Pneumonia, it is affecting the lung alveoli or the air sacs of lungs. And what is the mode of transmission here? The mode of transmission is by droplets or aerosols that are released from the person. So, when an infected person sneezes, he will release aerosols or droplets, and when a healthy person is happen to inhale these droplets, he is getting infection. So, the mode of transmission is via droplets or aerosols. And now, what are the symptoms? The symptoms are fever, chills, cough, headache. In severe cases of pneumonia, the lips and fingernails may turn greyish to bluish color. Now, here you can see in this picture a chest X-ray showing a very prominent wedge shaped bacterial pneumonia here affecting the right lung. So, you can see clearly in this picture, this person is affected by pneumonia. Now, we are going to the different symptoms of pneumonia. In this picture, it is clear what are the different body parts affected by pneumonia. Here you can see there will be headache, there will be loss of appetite, mood swings. It is also affecting the blood vascular system, there will be low blood pressure, the heart rate will be high. It is mainly affecting lungs here, and you can see as one of the symptoms, you can see a pleuritic chest pain. So, what is pleuresis? Pleuresis is inflammation of the membrane which is covering lungs. Pleura, they are the membranes covering lungs. Now, we are going to the next disease, that is common cold. Common cold here, it is caused by rhinoviruses, and the part affected here is nose and respiratory passage and not the lungs. Mode of transmission, Mode of transmission is by droplets or aerosols. So again, when the person sneezes, the droplets are coming, and when a healthy person inhales, that person will get that infection. Now what about the other way? You can also see by contaminated objects also common cold can be spread from person to person. So by sharing of pen, book, doorknobs, through doorknobs or computer, keyboard or mouse, etc., there is a very chance of spreading of common cold. Now what are the symptoms? It is very clear here. Nasal congestion and nasal discharge, that is the main symptom. There will be sore throat or pharyngitis, hoarseness, cough. What is hoarseness? A difference in sound. Cough, headache, tiredness, which will usually last for 3 to 7 days. So these are the symptoms of common cold. Now in this diagram you can clearly see what are the different portions of our body affected by this particular virus in a severe condition. So when it is very severe, it will turn out to be an influenza situation. So you can see the different portions affected by this particular microbe. Now we are going to the next disease, that is malaria. You know, malaria is a protozoan. Malaria is caused by a protozoan called Plasmodium vivax. There are different species of Plasmodium. There is Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae. Of them, Plasmodium vivax is causing benign tertian malaria. Plasmodium falciparum will cause malignant malaria. So here you can see Plasmodium malariae. Plasmodium malariae is causing mild tertian malaria, and Plasmodium ovale will cause quartan malaria. Now the body part affected by this organism, liver and RBCs. These are the two main body parts affected by Plasmodium. Then mode of transmission. You know, malaria will be spread by mosquito bite. Female Anopheles, that is a mosquito which is involved as a vector for transmission of malaria. You know, male mosquitoes are not depending on human beings. Male mosquitoes, they are sucking the plant sap, and only female mosquitoes, they are depending on vertebrates for getting a protein which is necessary for their egg development. So remember, only the female mosquitoes are sucking blood. So here female Anopheles will act as a vector for malaria. You can see now the symptoms. The symptoms are chill and high fever, and this chill and high fever will be recurring every 3 to 4 days. Now we will go through the life cycle of malaria. You can see that malarial parasite is a digenetic parasite because it is depending on two hosts. One is mosquito and other is man. And mosquito here is the primary host, because within mosquito there will be sexual reproduction. The fusion of gametes or fertilization will happen within mosquito. Now in this life cycle you can see the infective stage is called sporozoite. So sporozoites are entering into a healthy person by a mosquito bite. Now what happens to these sporozoites? Sporozoites will enter into the liver cell, and within liver it will perform asexual reproduction, and this asexual reproduction is known as schizogony. And you can see here, after schizogony there will be formation of cryptomerozoites. The cryptomerozoites, because here these merozoites are hidden, they are not visible in blood. That is why we say that these are cryptomerozoites. Now these cryptomerozoites, they can enter again into the liver cell, and thereby it will perform the pre-erythrocytic schizogony. and sometimes these cryptomyxozoites, they will enter into RBCs, and within RBC they again reproduce asexually. So, remember the malarial parasite, first it will asexually reproduce within liver cell, and then it will asexually reproduce within RBC. And after the asexual reproduction in RBC, there will be formation of myxozoites, and these myxozoites, when released, that is causing the characteristic chill and fever. So, the symptom, the main symptom of malaria, which is chill and fever, it is caused by the release of myxozoites. So, you can see here myxozoites are released, and you can see the characteristic fever appears. Now, what happens? Some of the parasites, they remain within the RBC and they develop into gametocytes, and these gametocytes, their further development will happen within the mosquito. You can see it over here. Now, when another mosquito bites this infected person, gametocytes will enter into the mosquito, and these gametocytes will transform into the male gamete as well as the female gamete, and there will be fusion of gametes to form a zygote. And now this zygote, it will undergo further development. It will develop into an oocyst and then into a sporont, and within the sporont there will be meiotic division and there will be release of sporozoites. So, now the life cycle, the circle will be completed here. So, remember, for malarial parasite, the primary host is mosquito and the secondary or intermediate host is human being, because the sexual reproduction happens within human being. Now, I am going to show you a video which will give you a clear idea about the life cycle of malarial parasite. You can see here in this video, a mosquito is biting a healthy person and sporozoites are released. These sporozoites first enter the liver cell, and within liver cell it will multiply. It will multiply by schizogony, and there will be release of myxozoites, cryptomyxozoites. You can see here they are coming out from the liver cell, and these cryptomyxozoites, they are moving to enter into an RBC, and within RBC again they are undergoing asexual reproduction, and more RBCs are getting affected by this phenomena. You can see here. So, there will be a massive destruction of RBCs, and further you can see within some RBCs there will be development of gametocytes, as I have explained you earlier. These gametocytes are further undergoing development. They will develop into a sporozoite within the mosquito after sexual reproduction, and you can again see the circle is completed. So, here in this picture you can see the various body parts affected by the parasite, the malarial parasite. It is affecting almost all body parts. It is affecting the respiratory system, it is affecting the muscular system, it is affecting even the central nervous system. Here in this slide you can see the various pathogens. This is Plasmodium vivax. This is a microscopic view of Plasmodium vivax, and here you can see Endemoeba histolytica. It is another microbe causing amoebic dysentery. This is Ascaris lumbricoides. It is a roundworm and it is causing ascariasis. This is Wuchereria bancrofti causing filariasis. So, pictures are given here in this slide. So, now it is time to discuss amoebiasis, the next disease. Endemoeba histolytica, it is belonging to the protozoan group. So, the pathogen behind amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery is Endemoeba histolytica. It is termed Endemoeba histolytica because it is affecting the tissues. it is causing tissue dissolution. That is why this organism is called Endamoeba histolytica. The part affected will be the large intestine, and you can see the mode of transmission is given here. The housefly will act as a mechanical carrier. Remember, housefly is not considered to be a vector. To call a vector, the pathogen should complete a part of the life cycle within that organism. So, here housefly is not a vector, it is only a mechanical carrier of this microbe.
Amoebic dysentery is characterized by diarrhea, abdominal pain, and also feces with mucus and blood clots.
So, here the mode of transmission is mainly by contaminated food and water. You can see the life cycle picturized here in this slide. In this life cycle, it is very clear the cyst and trophozoites are passed in the fecal matter, and the cyst, the mature cyst, it will be ingested by that person, and that is how infection happens. So, the infective stage is the cystic form, and further it will enter and it is causing disease here. You can see here, this is the large intestine. So, in this portion you can clearly see it is affecting the tissues over there. Now, we are going to the next disease, that is ascariasis. Ascariasis is caused by Ascaris lumbricoides. It is a roundworm, and the body part affected here will be small intestine, and the way of transmission, the mode of transmission will be contaminated food and water. You can see that the egg of this parasite will be coming out from the infected person, and it will contaminate soil, water, plants, etc. So, if there is if the food that we are taking is not hygienic, there is every chance of presence of this particular pathogen. Now, what are the symptoms? Symptoms of ascariasis include internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of the intestinal passage. So, these are the symptoms of ascariasis. Here you can see in this life cycle, there is male ascaris and female ascaris shown here. It is very clear there is sexual dimorphism. Male is having the posterior region a curvature. So, now the ascaris, how the infection happens, you can see it over here. From the fecal matter of the infected person, there will be fertilized eggs. The fertilized eggs, they undergo further development, and after development it is being ingested by the person. It is entering into the mouth, and through the pharynx, esophagus, it will enter into the digestive system. So, it resides in the small intestine. So, here the infective stage is shown here. So, the mode of transmission for ascariasis is by contaminated food and water. Now, we can go to the next disease. The next disease that is elephantiasis or filariasis. Elephantiasis or filariasis, it is caused by Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malayi. The part affected will be the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs and also the genital organs. Now, the mode of transmission. Filariasis or elephantiasis will be transmitted by mosquito bite. The Culex mosquito is acting as a vector for this particular disease. You can also see the symptoms given here in this table: chronic inflammation of the organs that are affected, and wherever this organism is affecting, there will be a gross deformity or there will be enlargement of the body part. So, that is the main symptom, the enlargement or deformity of the body part which is affected. So, here you can see a person with his hind limbs affected by elephantiasis. Elephantiasis is also affecting the scrotal region. Here the life cycle is picturized. You can see it over here through the Culex mosquito. When the Culex mosquito bites an infected person, there will be, within the blood meal, there will be microfilariae. So, microfilariae, they are the young one of Wuchereria bancrofti. And further what happens? These microfilariae, they will shed sheath and it will penetrate the mosquito midgut and it will migrate to the thoracic muscles and it will convert itself into different larval stages. There will be larval stage 1, then 2, 3, etc. And finally, it will migrate, this larval form will migrate to the mosquito's proboscis, and when that mosquito, when this infected mosquito bites another person, there will be infection. So, here you can see it is mainly affecting the lymphatic system. So, the adults are formed here. You can see the adults will be remaining within the lymphatics of the infected person, and the adults will produce sheathed microfilariae and it will migrate into the lymph and blood channels. It is very important to note here that there is a nocturnal periodicity observed in the case of Wuchereria bancrofti. The young one, called microfilariae, will be reaching the peripheral blood vessels only during the night time, and this is considered to be an adaptation to find out their intermediate host. Only when they are reaching the peripheral blood supply, the intermediate host, which is the Culex mosquito, it is able to collect blood from this infected person and there will be entry of microfilariae. So, scientists consider this nocturnal periodicity as a sort of adaptation, adaptation to survive in the case of Wuchereria bancrofti. Now, we are going to the next disease, that is ringworm. Ringworm, it is caused by the three main important genera of fungi called Microsporum, Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. The part affected, ringworm is mainly affecting skin, nails and scalp, and the mode of transmission, it is acquired from the soil or by using towels or clothes or even comb of infected individuals. So, by sharing of comb of an infected individual, there is every chance of transmission of this particular fungus. Now, what are the symptoms? Symptoms are dry, scaly lesions. Wherever it is getting affected, that body part will show dry, scaly lesions, and these lesions are accompanied by itching. Here you can see in this picture ringworm affecting skin, and it is showing lesions on the affected body part. Now, how we can prevent all these diseases? So far we have discussed bacterial diseases, protozoan diseases, fungal diseases, etc. How we can prevent all these diseases? It is mainly by public hygiene as well as by personal hygiene. What is personal hygiene? By personal hygiene, we mean keeping the body clean and consuming clean drinking water, food, vegetables and fruits, etc. And what is public hygiene? By public hygiene, we mean a proper disposal of waste and excreta, periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools, cesspools and tanks, and observing standard practices of hygiene in public catering. So, the prevention of diseases can be done by both personal hygiene as well as by public hygiene. The diseases that we have discussed can be broadly classified into three types. Some are waterborne diseases, Waterborne diseases are diseases that are spread by contaminated food and water. And then some are airborne diseases. Airborne diseases that are mainly transmitted by droplet or aerosols from an infected person. And the third type, that is vector-borne diseases. For example, malaria, filariasis, they are vector-borne diseases because there is involvement of mosquito as a vector. Now, how we can prevent the airborne diseases? Airborne diseases are mainly prevented by avoiding a close contact with the infected person, and also we have to avoid the belongings of that infected person. So, in this manner we can prevent airborne diseases. What about waterborne diseases? Waterborne diseases can be prevented by avoiding stagnation of water in and around residential areas, regular cleaning of household coolers. How we can prevent vector-borne diseases? Vector-borne diseases can be prevented by avoiding stagnation of water in and around residential areas, regular cleaning of household coolers, use of mosquito nets, introducing fishes like gambusia in ponds that feed on mosquito larvae, spraying of insecticides in ditches, drainage areas and swamps, etc. And also we can also keep our doors and windows provided with wire mesh in order to avoid the entry of mosquitoes, which are usually acting as vectors. So, vector-borne diseases can be avoided by these measures. Now, how to avoid infectious diseases? Infectious diseases can be avoided by vaccination. Vaccination and immunization programs are enabling us to eradicate deadly diseases like smallpox. We have already eradicated smallpox. A large number of other infectious diseases like polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, tetanus, all these diseases are mainly prevented by immunization programs in which vaccines are involved. Now we will discuss some questions that are related to the topic that we have discussed. Here we have the first question. Infection of Salmonella typhi is characterized by. Some statements are given. First statement, it is a pathogenic bacterium which causes typhus fever. Second, pathogens generally enter the body via mosquito bite. Third, sustained fever of 39 to 40 degrees Celsius, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache and loss of appetite. These are the symptoms of this particular infection. Then intestinal perforation and death may occur in severe cases. What do you think about these statements? Here you can see that statement number 1 and 2 are wrong. You know why? It is because this Salmonella typhi is causing typhoid. It is not typhus fever. Typhus fever is caused by a spirochete bacterium. So, the first statement is wrong. What about the second statement? Pathogens generally enter the body via mosquito bite. This is also wrong because in the case of Salmonella typhi or typhoid, it is by contamination of food and water the disease occurs or disease is transmitted. So, here the first two statements are wrong. So, only third and fourth statements are true here or applicable for this Salmonella typhi. So, from the options we can pick option B as our answer. So, infection of Salmonella typhi is characterized by only statements 3 and 4 here. Now, coming to question number 2, diseases that are transmitted through insect vectors are. Options are given. So, from the options you have to pick those diseases which involve insect vectors. You can see here Option D. You can go to option B, malaria, filariasis and Gambia fever. These three diseases are transmitted by insect vectors. Malaria, the vector is female Anopheles mosquito. Filariasis, the vector is female Culex mosquito. And for Gambia fever or trypanosomiasis, it is caused by Trypanosoma gambiense, which is a surflagellate. So, here from the options we can pick option D, because all the three diseases are transmitted by insect vectors. Okay, now we can go to our third question. It is a match the following question. Here you are given two columns. In the first column some diseases are given. In the second column you can see causative organisms. So, here common cold, how you can match? The common cold is caused by rhinoviruses. Pneumonia you can match with Haemophilus influenzae. Typhoid you can match with Salmonella typhi, and Gambia fever you can match with Trypanosoma gambiense. Then filariasis you can match it with Wuchereria bancrofti. So, this is a simple question. So, after matching our answer will be option D. Okay. Because 1Q, 2S, 3P, 4R and 5T. That is a correct way of matching. Now, coming to question number 4, pre-erythrocytic phase of life cycle of Plasmodium vivax occurs in. You know what is pre-erythrocytic cycle? Pre-erythrocytic cycle happens before the parasite entering into RBC. When it enters into RBC, the life cycle is considered to be erythrocytic cycle. But now pre-erythrocytic phase means before entering into RBC. So, it will be in liver, because Plasmodium vivax is affecting first the liver cells, then RBCs. So, the correct answer for this question will be option B. Coming to question number 5, which is responsible for the characteristic chill and high fever recurring every 3 to 4 days in malaria? Options are entry of sporozoites into the blood, release of metacryptomyrozoites, formation of the signet ring stage, release of myrozoites and hemozoin from RBC, formation of microgamete and macrogamete. So, here from the options it is very clear, the release of myrozoites or after the attack on RBCs, you can see the characteristic symptom of malaria. There will be chill and fever when the myrozoites are coming out from the RBCs, and this fever, this chilling fever will be recurring every 3rd day in the case of Plasmodium vivax, because it is causing benign tertian malaria. So, the correct answer for this question will be option D. Entry of sporozoites into blood, we can say that is a infection, that is at the time of infection. Release of metacryptomyrozoites will happen when the cryptomyrozoites are again entering into the liver cell and when they perform again that schizogeny. And formation of signet ring stage, it is occurring during the erythrocytic phase of the life cycle, or it is formed within the RBC. And what about the microgamete and macrogamete? Microgamete is the male germ cell and macrogamete is the female germ cell, and these germ cells are formed within the gut of mosquito. So, the correct answer, as I told you in the beginning, will be option D here. Now, we are moving to the last question of this session. Here we have to match the disease with the corresponding symptoms. In the first column, some diseases are given, and in the second column we have a set of symptoms. So, how we can match? We can match it like this. Ringworm, what is the symptom for ringworm? It will cause dry scaly lesions on various parts of the body such as skin, nails and scalp. So, you can match one with R. What about ascariasis? Ascariasis caused by Ascaris lumbricoides. It is affecting the small intestine and it will cause internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever and anemia, and sometimes it may even lead to the blockage of the intestinal passage. Now, what about amoebiasis? Amoebiasis is caused by Endemoeba histolytica and it is affecting the large intestine, and amoebiasis is also called the amoebic dysentery. So, there will be dysentery, abdominal pain and cramps, stools with excess mucus and blood clot. So, these are the symptoms for amoebiasis. And for filariasis, you can match with Q here, because Wuchereria bancrofti is affecting the lymphatic vessels, or we can say it is living inside the lymph vessels of man. So, from the options it is very clear that our answer will be option D. Okay. So, with that we are concluding our first part on health and disease. Hope you have enjoyed this particular session. Thank you.